back to On the Path Podcast. I'm Tarun Verma.
And I'm Abby Koenig.
All right, Abby, so we're going to get into this next one from Elite Daily called Be More Than Your Diploma, Why Self-Branding is Crucial to Standing Out in the Job Market. This thing, I don't think in history has ever resonated so true, that degrees are more useless now than they've ever been. Sounds bad.
Yeah.
Sounds horrible.
Sounds horrible.
But it kind of is true.
I mean, so on the one hand, I think they just this came out this week of the amount of debt, college debt has surpassed any other debt in the United States now. Mm-hmm. And now like the government's thinking about allowing like students to not pay it back and work in public sector. And anyway, it all kind of comes out of this place where what you're saying is so many more students are becoming students coming out of college, and then there's no jobs. And it's like what you're saying, why'd I bother going to college? I don't know if it's not necessary anymore, but I think that we need to be a little choosier about what we go to school for.
I think that's definitely true. You do have to be choosier, because what I've seen, what ends up happening is either you underschool yourself and go the business route and go the self-made route, or you have to overqualify yourself. Mm-hmm. One degree is not enough. Now you need the MBAs, you need the masters. It's almost like a prerequisite. Yeah. I remember they've been saying this. They said this 5 years ago, and it's still true that a college degree is really just a high school diploma now. Yeah. You have to do way more than that. And all of my friends are all out going to law school, getting MBAs, doing masters, mm-hmm. and you need to. And it's like, when you quantify that, that's even more money you're tacking on.
Oh,
that's
gosh.
Loans and all that stuff. So it gets really, really pricey. I don't even want to begin to tell you how much I owe. It is ridiculous. For what I make today, I probably owe 1.5 times that in student loans.
Really?
Yeah, it is absurd. I am one of these people who I am watching Obama's every move when it comes to student loan debt forgiveness and all that, because I owe a lot of money in loans. Mm-hmm. I ended up going to a private school. I racked up debt, and then plus the undergrad debt. I am just in a bubble of debt.
Yeah. And I'm with you.
It's terrible. I have to work my way out of this thing, and it sets you back years, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I could go off and I could have bought a house. I could have done this, but now I can't. Now I'm stuck paying this whole chunk off. And that's scary. So you, coming from a place where you teach, what have you seen and what's your experience with all this?
Well, I mean, not to dissuade anybody from going to college, because I do think that it's really important. So I don't want that to come across. But I think what I have found in my background anyway, which is communications, which means basically nothing, right? Is that you go through 4 years of school for this, and then you come out and you have no idea what to do with yourself. And I know my undergrad is in writing. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever said to us, you know what you should do? You should probably go get an internship. You should probably do X, Y, or Z. And that was a class that I would have really liked to take, like a class where they actually sit down and say, okay, by the way, your creative writing degree is going to get you basically shit. So why don't you try and do advertising or do something, you can use writing in a million different fields, but take it in a different direction. You're not all going to be write the next Great American Screenplay. Actually, none of you will. I'm friends with all these kids from college, and none of us have gotten anywhere.
Harsh Truth 101 needs to be given out in school. My dad was from the old country, right? So he's been screaming this from day one. But when I was a kid, it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And I was like, whatever, Dad. Yeah. I'm a rebel to the system. I kind of am glad I ended up sticking with this thing, because all the other, like I did screenwriting for a while. I directed a movie and all this, and those things all went kaput. And what worked out at the end of the day? This degree I never wanted to have, but I'm really glad I got it now. And it was like, okay, wow. Well, and I know so many of my friends that moved off to LA, and they're still to this day like struggling actors and writers and directors out there. And I'm like, well, man.
Yeah.
In hindsight, my dad had it right. What the heck, man?
For all the people that make it, I mean, there's a million other people. And that's sort of what this article is saying, that, you get out of college and, like, that's nice. You have this college degree. But so do 1.5 million other people have a college degree.
Right.
So now you're competing with them, and what makes you stand out? And coming from both sides of it as a student, not that long ago, I went back to grad school, and I was the oldest person. I'm not oldish, but I'm not that old. That
Right.
I was the oldest grad student in my class.
Right.
And it was just filled with kids, more or less, who didn't know what else to do with themselves.
And you just keep schooling.
Yeah.
You just keep schooling
and
until
racking up
something hacks up.
Yeah.
And so there's so many tangents to take here.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one being, so this article talks about self-branding yourself.
Right.
So I have heard from so many people, employers and everything, talking about how many applications they get, how many resumes they get, and it's all forgettable. So let's talk about one aspect which I've placed a lot of importance on, which is connections and knowing the right people.
Yes.
That is almost, here's something that I took away, and it's always been laser engraved in my brain. But one of my professors said, your degree is really permission to play the game.
Right.
That's all it is. That's all it is. You're just putting tokens in the machine to play the game. After that, it's all up to you.
Yeah.
Your connections, how you present yourself, how you dress, all that stuff, that really gets you the job. That seals it. The diploma is just there for the paper stuff. Companies need an engineer, so you got to have the engineering degree. Boom, that's it. But if you want the higher salary, you want this and that, that's all you as a person.
Yes.
You have to go make that happen. You got to know the guy at Halliburton to get the job there. What's your 2 cents on that?
Well, I tell every one of my students, whenever they ask me something about going forward and what can I do with the communications degree, I say, go get an internship. Get 5 internships. Try everything out that you can possibly try out. Talk to everybody that you can possibly talk to, and be memorable. I mean, stick out and work. I mean, you have to work hard too. And that has to be part of your brand.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, if you want to use the most branded person that I can come up with, is Kim Kardashian, is a brand herself, right?
Absolutely.
Like her or not, which I don't, she is really smart about, or somebody is really smart.
Her mom
is really
I have too many
smart.
friends that are girls that know about the Kardashians. I personally hate them, but I've heard the mom is like a genius when it comes to business.
That's a great example. They don't have college degrees at all, right? But they figured out a way to get themselves out there. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good role model at all. And
No.
You don't want to just like make a sex tape and put it out there.
But in an advertising book, unfortunately, you may find them in there because it's a smart thing that happened.
Yeah.
They took advantage of it and they really sold it well.
Yes.
I got to give them that. You're very, very, very right on that. Beyond that, what else can you do? So you said internships are great. This way you get a hold of different skill sets. You find out what you like, too. You're meeting people, right?
Yes.
The hiring people, the HR people at these companies. So now you've established relationships. What else can you do to be so competitive?
I mean, depending on what type of employment you're looking for and what type of job that you want, I would say joining clubs, starting clubs. I mean, there's students at the University of Houston, where I work, that have been in the newspaper for doing, kind of sticking their necks out, doing things that maybe you wouldn't normally think of, student government, things like that. I mean, there's kids I've read about, I'm like, if I see that student's name in 10 years in real government, I will not be surprised at all. So I think that's really important, and finding the things that you like to do and getting better and better and better at it.
Yeah, there was another thing. I forgot who said it, but they said, don't do a million things.
Right.
Just do the one thing over and over and over again until you perfect it.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates, just hits our generation, because we're a generation of doing a million things. It's like we do a million things somewhat adequately / just really crappy.
Yes.
But when we really should have done what our parents did in their generation, they just did one thing. They hammered it till it was done, and they were masters at it.
Yeah, it's like a Gen X-ish, not really millennial thing, but Gen Xers or job hoppers.
That's true.
I mean, you think about it, our parents' generation, they worked at the same job for
20 years,
yeah,
15
whatever.
years, got...
you get a pension and a watch. And
get a pension and a watch. And that was actually a coveted thing, right?
Yeah.
We grew up thinking, well, that's just a load of baloney. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Why not hop every 2-3 years and just jump your salary up just so much more? I have friends who, they came out making something like 45 grand out of college, which is pretty good. And then already 2-3 years later, they're like up to 65. And I'm like, Well, you can't complain with that either, technically.
Yeah.
That's a pretty smart thing to do. They're picking up new skills, but again, the same thing. They're getting decent at a bunch of different things.
Right.
Maybe let's just defend them a little bit. Maybe when they find that one thing they love, they're going to stick there and they're going to wait it out. I mean, we all are going to work, 40 some odd years of our life? You can't
Very
be hopping
sadly.
every couple of years,
You
right?
can't. I don't think you can be, and I think it's like a detriment. I know from experience, my husband's been at the same job since he'd graduated college. He got
Really?
hired right out of college.
Wow.
So that's like 12, 13 years he's been at this
Wow.
job. He has a 401k. It actually exists, and he's like built it up to something.
Then that's worth something.
That is
a
worth
lot.
something. I have had 800,000 different jobs since I graduated college. I think I might have like $500 floating around somewhere to retire on, which is going to be really sad and depressing.
Oh.
But so I think that we tend to forget stuff about that. Forget about, well, it's okay. Longevity is not such a bad thing.
No, it's not. Longevity equals stability.
Yes, exactly.
And that's something I think our generation doesn't put enough focus on, is stability. We're all just cool being bohemians. Like I went to school in Austin, so we all had that mentality of just like, whatever comes, as long as we got a cargo shorts on, it's all good.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't do that. When you come out into the job, graduating from UT or any sort of hippie university, it's a big shock. A lot of my friends, when we got out into the job market, were like, holy crap. The colleges, I think all colleges tend to be bubbles.
Yes. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
And as soon as you get out, you're just like, hold on. Why do I feel like I was not prepared for this?
That's what I'm saying about that one class. Like, give me that class that it's like, here's real life 101. Where
Right.
and teach me how to like balance a checkbook even, because you don't know any of that when you get out.
Yeah, when I got out, I knew nothing about finances.
Yeah.
My dad taught me nothing about finances, and nor did any uncle or anything I had. That was all something I literally had to pick up financial books and read them, because I was like, Dad, did you know you're supposed to do this? He's like, yeah, duh. And I'm like, thanks for teaching me. He's like, I assumed school taught you. I was like, school assumed you taught me.
Yes.
Oh my God. How did this go wrong?
Exactly. And thinking about this article, and what you said, that you get out of school and you have this degree, and it's sort of, it gives you an opportunity that those without the degree don't have, right? But the branding yourself is something that takes a really certain type of person. And I don't think everybody has that capability within them.
Very interesting. Dig into that for me. Very, very cool.
So from like an arts perspective, just because we're both kind of artists, right?
Right.
I think if you say you did some film work, you did some whatever, and then it didn't really go in the direction you wanted, not saying that it still won't because you're a young person, but
Thank you.
you could, had you gone out to Los Angeles, right, busted your ass, went to parties, networked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, maybe you'd be in a different place. And I feel the same way about myself, but I just am not that type of person because I'm actually a pushover and don't know how to do that.
But those are what ifs, though, because my brother says the same thing to me all the time. He's like, you copped out. You sold out to the corporate world. You went the pharmacy route and you're making your salary. He's like, you should have gone out to LA. You should have just said, you know what, Dad, forget it. I'm going to major in radio, television, film. That was the RTF degree. And gone out to LA. He tells me that all the time. I'm like, but that's a what if.
Yeah.
And I am trained to think, you know what ifs are a huge waste of your energy, because you never know, right? You never know. Yeah, I probably could have ended up somewhere, or you couldn't have, but it's just kind of a mind fuck to think about it, right?
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that everybody should or they shouldn't. I just think that it takes a certain person to do that.
Right.
To like live in a van and eat nothing and just go to auditions and submit your writing every day and be rejected constantly.
I don't think I could do that.
I couldn't do it either.
I couldn't do that.
That's why we both have real jobs.
Yeah.
But I think that's a part of the branding thing. I think that if you want to be that person, then you can. But not everybody is Kim Kardashian.
Right. But I don't even think you need to be, in terms of branding, you don't need to be some sort of like YouTube star or anything.
No.
Just even if you want to get a great job just in the city, right? It's we're talking about low level branding.
Right.
That even needs to be done,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people have websites, people have really snazzy cards. You could be known as the engineer or the lawyer who also happens to split time at a really great charity, and it's a really like well-known charity, and you give a lot and you're a president there. You have to market yourself and brand yourself in a certain area so that at least if you're not related to your job directly, people go, okay, this guy's from there.
Yeah.
And it's attention. It's
Yes.
how much attention you're drawing.
It's like networking and
Networking 101.
yeah.
That's what they're calling networking now. Self-branding. Branding.
Yeah, branding is it's kind of like a buzzword. It's not kind of like a buzzword. It is a buzzword.
It is a buzzword.
But it's sort of necessary, and there's too many people, and they're too in your face. I mean, now because everybody has their Facebook and their Tumblr and whatever, everybody's in everybody's face.
Everyone's trying to promote themselves, and
Yes.
that is a little annoying to an extent, but you see why you got to do it
Yeah,
though.
you
It's
have to do
important.
it.
And most of them don't take. They don't work, right? There are really, really good social media strategies out there, which is why I've noticed I've had a couple friends start up social media firms, and I was like, when I first told me years and years ago that they're doing that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if it'll really take or not, but now it's like, oh wow, like Coca-Cola, Marlboro, Kraft, these guys all have people. They have a whole segment, just kind of like hey, HR is a department. They now have a social media department. This whole department has built up in every major thing now. These are real jobs.
Yeah.
Getting out over Twitter, over Facebook, over Cloud, whatever, wherever. That's a thing now. You have to have it.
Public relations is like, I mean, it's like one of the number one industries. There's billions of dollars that flow. For what? I mean, to write tweets that catch on, like that's crazy.
True. That's true.
That's a job, but that's what branding is all about.
And I think it was after Ashton Kutcher's little incident that I realized how many companies and public figures don't actually run their own Twitter accounts.
Oh, yeah.
After that whole, what was it, the coach who knew about the sexual assault at the university and he tweeted something.
Yep.
After that, the whole internet just dogged him. And he was like, well, I'm referring this out to a third-party firm now. I'm not going to tweet on my behalf anymore. And I was like, holy crap, you can do that?
Oh, yeah, and you get
Holy
paid
crap.
to do it. I mean, big celebrities, I forget what the most... I read an article, and this is probably about a year ago, when Charlie Sheen went crazy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He got paid to tweet something about Tiger Blood for some organization, and he made $500,000. The number is absurd. It's even more than that.
Jesus
Crazy amount.
Christ.
But the number of clicks they got off of it was like, it warranted it. Like, to pay him $1 million to tweet, well, he didn't tweet anything. Somebody wrote it for him. But it was worth it to the company. It's crazy.
It is. And, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm really that Twitter savvy yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly care for it. I think it's a lot of noise. But it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, there is a value to this thing. I hopped on the Twitter bandwagon way later than I should have.
Yeah, me
I was
too.
always a big, Facebooker and all that. And so I was always there, but tweeting, I was like, who the hell cares about tweeting? I don't want to know your inner thoughts. I don't care what you think about rug placement in a house. But it's like this is a really, really important medium, especially for advertising and marketing people. Facebook, yeah, that kind of is more of a personal thing, so I don't think those campaigns go so successfully.
No.
But Twitter is huge
And
in that.
Instagram
it's so much
now.
money.
And
Oh, Instagram.
I mean, I was just reading an article today about these kids who are like Instagram celebrities, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. YouTube has done that. Instagram has done that. I follow some people that are supposedly celebrities.
Yeah.
And it's afforded them so many opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise. So in the Indian community, there's a couple of these YouTubers that's made funny videos, little sketch videos. They're up to the point where they get to tour the world and go to universities because they're, those things are really popular amongst kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't really know so much about them until my niece told me about it, right? She's 14, 15. She's prime for this audience.
Yeah.
You yourself, we don't have time to sit on YouTube and look at videos, right? But this new generation lives on YouTube. We had regular tube back in the day.
Now it's gone. It's leaving us.
We had regular cartoons, but now when these kids come home, they watch YouTube videos from these other people. Again, YouTube it's an indie source of entertainment. It's made by Joe Schmoes like you and me. And now when you get enough of these followers and clicks, it affords you opportunities to go and travel universities and do shows. And then I saw them in Bollywood hanging out with some Bollywood stars. And I was like, this is a kid from Queens.
Yeah.
What the hell is he doing over there?
So crazy.
I was like, wow, that's all through social media.
The new 15 minutes of fame is it's absurd, and
I agree.
And the kids these days, all they want to do is be on the YouTube
and so through that Instagram too, you have Instagram models and this and that. Through my little brief time doing photo shoots and this and that for magazines, and models everywhere, and you're like, wow, okay, so now they've bypassed regular means. So the entertainment industry goes through agents and managers and all that. Now you can bypass all that. Where is this for writers? They don't have this for writers.
They really don't. They really don't have it for writers. Although, I mean, you could self-publish now, and like 50 Shades of Grey, she self-published that book.
She is? I didn't know that.
It came out. It was like fan fiction for Twilight. She wrote a Twilight fan fiction. You know, yes, you know of Twilight.
Yeah, I know about Twilight. I just didn't want to acknowledge it too much than I wanted to. Wow, I didn't know that.
And she self-published it, and then it hit, and now look at her.
And it's got a movie. She's got a movie coming out.
There's 3 books. It's the worst piece
crap.
of crap I've ever read. But
I've heard the same. I couldn't bring myself to read it just because I heard it was a bunch of crap. I was like, I'll wait for the movie and maybe see it. I don't know. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's possible. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, I think, this branding.
I think it is. Very much so.
And self-promotion is a blessing and a curse.
Now, when it comes to one last thing before we leave, when we're talking about Instagramming, YouTubing, how can people utilize these for not celebrity jobs, but for, say, the marketing and executive job that you want? How can you use these tools?
Well, I think on the one hand, you can not use these tools in a sense, meaning like don't put up your drunken video of yourself, playing beer pong.
Yeah.
If you want an executive job, that might be something you want to avoid doing.
There's an etiquette.
Yeah.
That social media etiquette is in full effect. Most jobs do look at people's Facebooks,
Every
no matter
job
how
does.
much you privatize it.
Yeah, your
it's
LinkedIn.
There.
I mean, keep your LinkedIn to be as professional as it possibly
That's all it
can.
is. It's a professional Facebook. When people ask me, I'm like, don't put anything up there. Put up one picture. I don't even put up statuses. It's a simple, it's just an online resume.
Yes.
That's all it really is.
Yeah, keep yourself, imagine that you are a stranger reading your own profile. What would you say about you? What would you think about you? I think that's really important if you want to get some of these executive level jobs. I know I had a job interview, and somewhere in the middle of the interview, they were like, okay, so we have to tell you this. We've been stalking you, and we were on your YouTube page. And my face went white because I was like, what the hell is up there?
I forgot the password.
I haven't seen it in a while. And luckily for me, it was they liked what they saw.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't related to the job per se. So it was I had done my creative videos, and this was a job teaching, and they said, we just kind of liked your enthusiasm in these videos, and we thought it was, you were really doing a lot of high technology, which I'm not, but compared to what they were doing. So in that sense, put yourself out there a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting yourself out there a little bit if you want to get not just entertainment job, but one of these executive level jobs. Show yourself at like the charity function, so they know that you do those types of things.
Yeah, I think you have to utilize them. Like they said in the article and everything too, you have hundreds of kids coming out for one position to fill. And no matter what industry you go to, it's getting worse and worse and worse. I can speak on behalf of pharmacists. Job market is really rough now. There's only so many pharmacies you can put up somewhere, and kids keep coming out by the truckload. It gets really tough.
Did you feel like you had to kind of brand yourself in a sense?
I was a big networker. I did it the old-fashioned way of knowing people, shaking hands.
It's branding.
It's branding. So anytime I had an internship, which again, you're totally on the mark about internships, everyone needs to do them, and I diversified. Anytime I could flip internships, I didn't stay with a company for too long. I kept flipping because I was like, I want to know about every different skill set out there. I wanted to get my hands wet everywhere, and I wanted to get to know everybody. And the thing is also, this is where that whole pushover mentality kind of comes in. Don't be so alpha male when you're an intern. Right? Just soak it all in. You're the lowest person on the totem pole there, so just be nice to everybody. don't shake anyone the bad way, rub anyone the bad way. And I just made really good connections. I just was in everyone's good graces. I was a really likable guy. And so when I went back to them years later saying, hey, do you have a job open in Dallas and Houston and Austin? They were like, hey, we'll go out of our way to help you out. Yeah, let me go find out. That's how I did it. I didn't use any technology. Again, pharmacy is kind of an old man's profession. So people don't look at people's YouTube pages or anything like that. But it was a big deal. I did it the old-fashioned way, and it worked wonders.
Let's see. But it's all part of it. I think it's shaking hands, kissing babies.
Kissing babies. Call it networking, call it self-branding. Same thing in today's day and age. So with that, we'll leave you with today's OTC podcast.